Hi, today on the next installment of the GNet TV News Project In Depth, we'll be talking to Fanning Heron, who's the new head of school at the Maple Street School in Manchester, and also to Tim Newbold, who's the new head of school at the Village School in North Bennington. They'll be talking a little bit about the school choice question, which has bubbled up recently after the State Board of Education has hinted that they may be adopting some new rule changes governing independent schools that accept public money. So they'll be discussing that and a few other issues that involve running their schools, and I think you'll find it an interesting conversation. Stay tuned. You know, we've been hearing a lot about school choice over the past couple of months between Act 46 related questions, and then just more recently the State Board of Education has came out with, well, actually, I guess they first initially pronounced those in July, but it began to seem to be, I guess maybe we all didn't appreciate exactly what that was all about until more recently. But there's been a lot of concern expressed recently that school choice is in some jeopardy if an independent school accepts public money. That they would then have to follow the same rules that public schools do in special education, teacher certification, and administrative certification. Three areas I'm familiar with. I'm assuming there are probably more, and if you want to advise us about what those are, feel free. I mean, how seriously are we supposed to be worried about that? I mean, is this really, in your mind, something that could happen that could really impinge on that historic tradition of school choice in Vermont?
I think people are taking it seriously because it's such a threat to independent schools. And I think it has obviously become a serious topic of conversation because you can't go anywhere these days without discussing it, especially if you're in our community.
I'm sure you can.
It's just the topic du jour, and for the right reasons, because if you see the excellent conversation between Oliver Olson and Seth Longarts that you guys did just the other day, which was fascinating, it's a very complicated political and economic issue that affects southern Vermont greatly. So I think there is a particular focus on that here in this region, and I think it all comes back to the idea that, historically and traditionally for over 150 years, this has been how the state has done business, and I think the best question I've heard is, show me how the system is truly broken, especially with independent schools. I would argue that this would be a different conversation if independent schools weren't flourishing in southern Vermont, but they are. And it seems that so much of the political conversation is about the changing demographics, trying to keep people in state, trying not to have the flight out of the state. And I keep on hearing repeatedly stories from people in Manchester, in particular Maple Street parents, about, they've made conscious decisions to move to the North Shire to attend a number of schools in the area. So they are bringing with them their tax dollars, they're bringing with them the possibility to create jobs, and they are the economic movers of this region. And I think if choice were to be dismantled or altered in some serious fashion, I think a lot of people would consider leaving the area. And that would be devastating for, obviously, the independent schools and the greater southern Vermont region in general. It would be a huge economic disaster.
No, I think the specifics around the rule changes that are being proposed are really interesting. I think we're in a unique situation at the Village School in that we actually already meet most of those rule changes, so it's not going to impact us. But I am in full support of not putting forth those rule changes because not every school is going to be able to meet those. You think about a small school, much smaller even than our schools, accreditation is a really hard process to go through. And even NEASC, the accrediting body that Vermont has said would take on this responsibility, I've heard from their folks that they said, we don't know that we could accredit all these schools if that was all of a sudden going to happen, that they would just not have the people power because it's all volunteer for that accreditation process through NEASC, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges.
An important point is all these independent schools, the vast majority of them are already accredited, are already approved, and they're just throwing more rules at us
but there are small schools that have 30 or so kids that fit a very specific niche that they may not be accredited in the same way.
Yeah.
And for them to go through that process just may not be feasible.
I don't understand why anyone who has been to our region and to see how successful the independent and public school sort of ecosystem is, why anyone would want to dismantle that. Because I think any dismantling of independent school system is going to have a major ripple effect, I think negatively also on the public school system. It doesn't seem to be a well thought out or executed plan at this point in time.
Every school does not fit every child. And we want to make sure that there are different opportunities that fit those unique
Right.
learning styles. And I don't know that every school can do that, but having a number of different schools and different opportunities and providing those choices for people gives them the opportunity to really find the one that's going to fit their child best.